everybody, nice to be back with you again. So today we're going to make a potato based pizza, and here is one I made earlier. So instead of the normal dough, it actually has a mashed potato base and it's really tasty and filling. So let's see how we get on with this today. So here's the equipment that you will need to make your pizza. You will need a chopping board. Mine's white because I do everything on this, but you might have coloured ones at home, and you'll need the green chopping board for doing your vegetables. All right. You will need a sharp knife. This one's got a lovely cover over it, but be very, very careful. All right. No running around with that in your hands. One potato peeler. You will need a tablespoon, which is the biggest spoon that you've got. You will need what we call a table knife, so we need to spread things, an ordinary knife as well as the sharp one. You will need a potato masher, a cheese grater, although you might be able to buy your cheese already grated. That's a brilliant decision. You will need a tin that will go. You're going to make your pizza on this, so a tin to go in the oven with, and then last of all you will need a saucepan to cook your potatoes in. So that's our equipment that we need. So we're ready to go now, aren't we? So if I pop those out of the way, just to one side for a minute, there we go. So these are the ingredients that you will need for your potato-based pizza. Guess what? Potatoes. So you want about 4 medium potatoes. They weigh about 400 grams, but it's not vital that you have exactly the right amount. So that's about right for one pizza. You will need an egg. If it's going to roll away, 1 egg will do. You will need a little bit of butter or spread or something. It's just to mash into the potatoes, all right? And then you will need some plain flour. I use plain, you can use self-raising, but just plain flour just to thicken it all up with. So that's our potato base. And and some salt and pepper. Don't forget your salt and pepper, always helps. And then on top of the pizza, once we've flattened it all out, we are going to put some tomato. We're going to use tomato puree out of a tube. That's dead easy just to spread over. And obviously we will use the cheese goes on the top. And then in between the tomato and the cheese, you can put whatever flavours, whatever things you really love to put on your pizza. So I think today we might use some ham, I just bought sliced ham, just shred it, just tear it up and we'll put it on the top. Okay, if I put that there, then over here I'll put that there we go. I've got just a selection of vegetables, so we're going to slice a few slices of onion, not the whole onion, just a few slices of those. Slice some mushrooms, some leeks, I'll slice them up, and then slice the tomatoes just on the top as well. But you can use anything, more or less anything you like. Okay? Lots to do. Just going back to the cheese, I've got about 150 grams here, but you can use as much or as little as you like. If you love cheese, then put lots of cheese on the top. I certainly do. 150 to 200 grams is ample. And then the one other thing which isn't really an ingredient is vegetable oil or sunflower oil, whatever you've got in your kitchen. And we just need to oil very lightly the tin that we make the pizza on. So we'll just put a little bit on, spread it on. When we pat our pizza base down onto it, it shouldn't stick, fingers crossed, but it makes it nice and crispy underneath. And that is all our ingredients. Let's get cooking. Right, potatoes. So you need to peel your potatoes. If you find it difficult peeling the potatoes, holding them, sometimes holding it with a fork can help. See how you go. Every potato peel is different, isn't it? But get the peel off as best as you can. There we go. I've done the other 3, because I said 4, didn't I? I've done the other 3 already, just to speed things up. So we've got four potatoes there. All right, we'll give them all a little bit of a wash in case they're a bit muddy, and then we need to cut them up. Take the top off there, helps, doesn't it? Cut them up, I would say, into quarters from this size. Okay, pop them into the pan. So we've got 1, and then we've got 2. So not too small. If we make them too small, they go very mushy and full of water, and then our base becomes very mushy, not nice and crispy at all. Okay, this is our last potato. In it goes. There we are. Okay, so we've got the potatoes in the pan. All I'm going to do is put enough water out of the tap, just enough to cover the potatoes. Right, you don't want gallons in here, just enough to cover the potatoes is plenty, otherwise it'll take ages to come to the boil. So just cold water out of the tap. There we are. That's about enough. So just enough to cover the potatoes. Don't know if you can see in there. Yeah? Okay. Then I'll take my lid and we'll carry it over here. Put it on the gas stove. I'll pop my lid. I usually put my lid half on until it starts boiling. So I'll turn the gas on. There we are. Pop that in. Handles of saucepans should always be pointing away from the cooker, never onto the cooker. Okay, and we'll bring that up to the boil. We don't need salt in it because we're going to put it in later. We'll bring that to the boil and let the potatoes simmer, turn it down and simmer for about 10 minutes, and you can just use a fork or your knife and just prod them to see if they're cooked, and once they're cooked we need to drain them. Okay, so I'll let them cook for a while. While the potatoes are cooking, we're going to turn the oven on so that it's nice and hot when we want to put the pizza in to bake. So I'm going to use the bottom oven, but some ovens have little top ovens as well, and we only need the 1 tray, so that would be fine. Whichever, doesn't matter. Check nothing else is in there, and then we're going to turn it on to 200 degrees centigrade, or if you've got a gas oven, it would be gas mark 6. So that'll heat up nicely while we go and prepare our other bits and pieces. Right, when you buy leeks, they might look clean, but they've grown in a really sandy soil. In fact, I can feel it on this one. So we need to get rid of as much of the earth and the sand. So what you do is just a little way in, you just cut, not all the way through, cut it halfway through so it sort of opens up like that. Doesn't have to be all the way down. And then we're going to take the outside leaf off completely. All right, so the outside one comes off all the way down to the bottom. We're going to throw that away. And then I can feel it, but I don't know if you can see it, but there's like sand and grit inside these leaves. It'll only go down to about there. So we need to take it over to the tap, hold it upside down and just run cold water through there so that it's just washing out all the mud and grit, because we don't want to scrunch on our pizza. Here we go. All right, so it looks a bit cleaner now, and then you can just slice off thin rounds like that. We don't want a lot on one pizza. I would think half that big leek would be ample for us. All right, so there's our little portion of leeks. Okay, then we'll have some mushrooms, maybe. Now everyone's different with mushrooms. Some people like to peel the skin off like that. That's fine. If that's how you do mushrooms, you can do that. I find it a bit fiddly, and to be honest, we're going to cook it anyway. So you could peel your mushrooms, and then I'd take the stalk off and I'd just cut it again, slice it into thin slices, keeping your fingers out the way. All right. Personally, I check to see there's no little bits again of mud or earth on them, If there is, you can pick those bits off. These look fairly clean to me, they're not too bad. They look fine. So to me, I take the stalk off and I leave the skin on, that outer skin, and just slice up your mushrooms. You can chop them if you wish. You could have slices like that. Let's have another go, it doesn't matter, it's not going to show. You could cut them in half and then maybe do them that way. That might be simpler with a sharp knife. Yeah. However you want to do your mushrooms, just chop them up a bit. Okay, so you can cut them up like that. Chunks of mushroom instead of slices. As long as they're not too big, because they've got to cook underneath the cheese. There's our mushrooms. Tomatoes, they're easy, aren't they? I always find if you put them stalk down, they're a bit more solid, aren't they, to slice? So we'll slice these down like that. Keep your fingers out the way. So don't hold it like that and do that. Try and keep your sort of nails tucked under, so that if the knife comes up against it, it's not going to cut the ends of your fingers off as well. They don't taste nice in pizza. Then I'm just going to slice that. There we go, that's that one. 1, 2. What I might do is actually put these on top of the cheese, and it'll make it look nice instead of hiding under the cheese. We'll see how I feel at the time. There's our tomatoes. Here we are. They're big tomatoes actually, you might not need all that on one pizza. And last but not least, I've saved it till the end, is our onion. And we all know onions make you cry. So I've not found a perfect way of doing them, but I do find if you breathe through your mouth, don't breathe through your nose. So keep your mouth open. Yeah, we'll put the rubbish in there. Oh, I've got a funny... Now sometimes you get these, don't you? Funny little bits in the middle of your onion. They're actually an inner skin. There's nothing wrong with them. They're an inner skin, but we don't want them, so we'll get rid of those. So we'll take the outer skin off. Take that brown skin off. There's a thinner bit there. All right. I'm not going to use all the onion. And then I'll just... Oh gosh, I can feel my eyes going. We'll slice some slices. Leeks are actually the onion family as well. That's falling to pieces. It's all falling to pieces there. So I'm not going to have too much onion because the leeks are of the onion family as well. I think we'll just do a few little bits of that, maybe a bit more. This is a very slippery, slidey onion. I don't like this one. Actually, I'm going to put... Oh, my eyes are going. So we'll just... That's plenty of onion to go on our pizza. So there's our 4 ingredients that are going to make up our pizza underneath the cheese. Let's go and have a look and see what the potatoes are doing now, all right? Right, my potatoes are done now. So I don't know, I tend to use the lid to strain like that and just pour the water off, or you can pour them through a colander. Either way, just get rid of all the water and then put your potatoes back in your pan. Okay, bring them back here, crash, and then mash them all up. So get them as smooth as you can. Okay, all right, mash it all up, and then I don't put in ordinary mashed potato, I put milk in, but you don't want milk in this one because it would make it too liquid. I'm going to put an egg in instead. So maybe just a little bit of, I think I've said about 2 ounces of butter on the recipe, but you just want a knob of butter in there, okay? Put that there. Oh, salt and pepper. So I can never work out how these things work. The lid comes off, but I can never get the... He's already taken the lid off. There we go. Bit of salt. And a bit of pepper. There we go. All right. I'm going to get another good mash. So the heat of the potatoes will melt the butter. mashing it in. Oops. Okay. So it's going a bit smoother there. And then we're going to get an egg. And you just literally break the egg straight in. Crack it on the side. What do you like at cracking eggs? Try not to get... If you're a bit unsure about doing the egg, maybe crack it into a cup first. If you think you're going to get some shell in it, then you can get the shell out before putting it in there. But if you're happy, the egg can open up in the middle, get your thumbs in and just open it up and put the egg straight in. So that's up to you how you do that. And again, mash it all in. Oh, it's noisy, isn't it? Let's put that on there. That's better. Mash it all up. Give it a good beat as well. So it's sort of, well, it's like mashed potato. It's not too sloppy, really. It's like sloppy mashed potato so far. There we go. So it's quite soft, isn't it, there? But what might be easier, actually, and I'm sure you can grab one, is a fork at this point. And just scrape your masher down. It's going to be easier to mix. You can do it with a masher, but get rid of that. There we go. Scrape the worst off the masher. And then we're going to put some flour, because you couldn't spread that, it'd be too soft, so we need to make it a bit firmer. And I honestly can't tell you how much flour, roughly. Just go spoon by spoon. All right, so there's a spoonful. I'll put a couple of spoons in there. It just depends on the potatoes that you've used. It depends on how big the egg you've used is. We just want enough flour in there so that it's just a bit drier. Sort of so that you can touch it and it doesn't stick to your fingers too much. I'll put a little bit more in there. A little bit more flour in there. But you don't want too much that it's really dry to eat. So what have I put in there? About 3 tablespoons. That looks good to me. So we've got our base there. I'll put that to one side. And then what I'm going to do is bring the tray over. It's where you get a bit sticky, but it's the easiest way to do it rather than messing around with pastry brushes. Just get a little bit of oil and put a little bit on your spoon. Just controls it a bit more, and then onto there, and just use your hand. It's the easiest. All right, spread it all out. Okay, there we go. I don't think it's going to go out to the corners, but it'll be about in the middle there. All right. I've washed my hands, so I'm not too slippery now. So I'm just going to get the contents. All my mashed potato is coming out. There we go. Scrape it all out. Comes out quite easily. All right, use that knife. Scrape it off. And then you can start with the fork. It might stick a bit, but you can get the beginning of it done with a fork. Okay. And then what I find easiest, because it does start to stick to everything, is just to dampen your hands, just with water. So not loads, just a slightly damp hand. It won't stick to your hand. And you can just pat it out. Okay. Not too thick. It's very difficult, isn't it? What's it as thick as? A bit thicker than a pound coin, I would think. Yeah, about like that. And then it's just a case of piling all your bits and pieces on top. So that's your base. We don't cook it first. So first off, we want some tomato puree. Don't go mad, because it's quite bitter, this, if you have too much of it. In fact, to our knife and spread that out on top. So she says don't go mad. I'll probably put quite a bit on there, but there we go. You want to be able to see the pizza through it a bit. All right. So that's our tomato layer. Then what shall we have next? Shall we put some onions on? So we'll sprinkle some onions on, however you want. Spread them out a bit so they're not only one person gets it. There we go. Although if you're going to have the whole pizza, it doesn't really matter, does it? Then we'll put some leeks on top. So say these are part of the onion family, really. So, but they're not as strong as onions. Certainly don't make your eyes water like onions do. And if you don't use all your ingredients, you can have them in a sandwich tomorrow or something like that. All these sort of things would go on. Not the mushrooms, maybe. I don't know. I used to eat raw mushrooms. I'll put some mushrooms on. There we go. It's piling up a bit now, isn't it? It's all right, don't worry about it. I'll put all those on. Ham, we said, didn't we? I'd forgotten about the ham. So I'm just going to take a slice, and you don't have to cut it with a knife, just tear it up. Put a little bit of ham on there. Where are we? Another slice, shall we? Just tear pieces off. There we are, spread it out a bit. I've kept it not quite to the edge, so we get a nice crusty edge around there. Now you can put tomatoes under and the cheese on top. So what should we do? Should we see how we go? Put some tomatoes around there, around there, around there, and one in the middle for luck. One in the middle for luck. I've got a few left I can put on the top. So pile your chosen ingredients on top, all right? And then we finish off with the grated cheese. Again, sprinkle it over the top. Some cheese sticks to itself, doesn't it? This is a golden cheddar. You can get pale cheddars, golden cheddars. I love Lancashire cheese, but it doesn't melt very well. So your cheddar is your best one. Or if you really want to be a proper pizza maker, you could get some mozzarella cheese. That's the real stringy stuff that goes onto pizzas. I'm just using ordinary ingredients here that we might have in the kitchen anyway. There we go. Now at this point, I actually push it down a bit. Okay. Just flatten it a bit. All right. Whoops. And then you could just put the odd leftover tomato on top, maybe. We'll just have 3 little tomatoes on top. And that's our pizza. So we're going to put that in the oven now. It's on 200 degrees, remember, and it'll take 20 minutes to half an hour. Every oven is different, but just look for the cheese melting and it goes a bit brown around the edges there, and hopefully once it's crispy around the edges there, it'll be cooked underneath as well. All right, so I'll pop that in the oven now. Right, it's been about 20 minutes now, so it smells good. Let's see what we've got in the oven here. Let's have a look. Oh, that looks good. It's crisping up around the edges. So I'm going to put that on the top there, so it's safe. Shut the oven door and turn the oven off. Something I sometimes forget to do, but not good. So everything's off there. And then over we come, and here we have our potato-based pizza, which is lovely and crispy around the edges there. So it'll be nicely cooked underneath. Ready for tea. I am. Are you? Right, these pizzas aren't as easy to get off all in one onto your plate. So what I suggest you do is cut it into quarters. Okay. I've got a pizza wheel, but an ordinary knife would do exactly the same. Okay. Cut it into quarters and take a quarter off at a time. It also helps the rest of it stay warm. So there we go. And then we can just slide that under there and pick that up and put our potato pizza on the plate there. So that can stay warm and you can have a piece. Shall we try a piece? Let's try a piece. There we go. And there. Cheers. Have a lovely tea. Lovely. Next time we're going to do some lovely gooey chocolate brownies for all you lovers of chocolate, and I know there's a lot of you out there. So I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a good week. Bye bye.